All right, welcome back to the Virtue Bowling Supply YouTube channel. My name is Chris and I'm here to bring you guys the high rev perspective.
And my name is Josh and I'll be bringing the low rev perspective.
Today we're gonna be taking a look at the brand new Hammer Full Effect, and I'm gonna be comparing that to the Brunswick Combat Hybrid and the Storm Bionic.
And I'll be comparing it to the Brunswick Combat Hybrid and the One Ovation. These comparisons will give us and you an idea of what these pieces look like going down the lane. At the end, we will give our honest, unbiased review anywhere from nuts to trash. With that being said, we are here on a fresh house shot at Bolero Union Hills. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you out on the lanes.
This one, to me, felt pretty niche. I think the only time that I really got comfortable with this one was when I moved left into the oil, but really kept my ball speed lower and kind of opened up my angles. To me, this cover felt a little too clean for how big I felt the core was. When I played a little bit further to the right, it still had that quickness and I couldn't quite get it to the friction without it kind of hockey sticking off of it. And when I got left and got it a fraction fast or in the oil, and never wanted to see it. So I really needed to keep my ball speed lower and open up my angles. Use the oil in the front part of the lane because of how big the core felt, and use the friction down lane because you kind of know that it's going to come off the corner when it sees friction because of how quick the friction response is. So now I'm going to go ahead and throw the Combat Hybrid and see how that compares. This one to me feels quite a bit more blended. I do think the cover is a fraction earlier than the Full Effect. They feel fairly similar coming off the end of the pattern. I feel like core shape wise, I feel like they're pretty similar. To me, I feel like the Combat Hybrid definitely has a little bit more of a rounded shape, I feel like. Even though the Full Effect was pretty round, I think the slightly earlier cover with the Combat Hybrid makes it exaggerate that roundness, and I feel like the Full Effect definitely feels a bit more angular than the Combat Hybrid. So now I'm gonna go ahead and throw the Bionic and see how that compares. All right, so the Bionic is for sure a step down from the Full Effect. I do think the cover on the Bionic, to me, feels stronger than I think it really is supposed to be, I guess. I did put Power Edge on the Bionic just because I've tried throwing it a couple of times at different places, and to me it just feels a little too early. So that Power Edge definitely makes it want to float down the lane a little bit more, and I can kind of get a little bit more shape out of it. To me, the Bionic is a step down from the Full Effect, something I can kind of play a little straighter with and keep it forward and it still kind of retain energy and go through the pin. My final thoughts on the Full Effect. Again, I feel like this ball is just a little too niche to put in the fire category. The shots that I thought were pretty good, and I moved left and kind of opened up my angles, I thought were pretty good, but I just don't see the versatility when I'm playing a little bit straighter with this one. So to me, I think this is gonna go in the mech category. I think maybe touching it with a little bit of surface, pull that breakpoint a little bit closer to me. I feel like the ball reaction would be a little bit better, but to me, I feel like there are just kind of other balls that fit in this category that are a little bit better. So to me, the mech category is where this one's gonna fit.
First of all, this ball right out of box visually looks great to my eye. I love the way it looks, and rolling down the lane, I love it even better. I felt like for me, this ball, it was kind of in middle of transition and they were trying to kind of getting a little tricky and a little cliffed, and this ball, I threw it and I just felt like it didn't really matter what I did. I just felt like the ball wanted to do the right thing. It did hook a lot at first. I was kind of, didn't expect it to hook that much. I thought it was gonna be a little cleaner, but I did make my couple board move left and open my angles, and when I did, holy moly, I felt like I just couldn't stop striking with this. I felt like compared to every other ball I've thrown around this time, like it was pretty hard to strike, and this ball just made it feel like the easiest house shot in the world. For me, I felt like this ball, as I got more angular, it got even better just because I feel like it shaped and went through the pocket well, and it still hooked in oil. And for me, I felt like some of the effects in the past have kind of hook stopped when they've seen oil, and I felt like this one is gonna be the one where it actually wants to shape off of it. So for me, this is definitely going in my bag. I look forward to throwing this in the future. Just threw 5 shots with the combat hybrid. This ball for me, I feel like was pretty similar to the full effect. I felt like it wanted to pick up earlier, but also was quicker to friction. I just felt like it kind of reacted a little bit sharper when it saw friction, where the full effect was a little bit more forward and tumbly and just smoother overall, and just hooked a little bit more in my opinion. I just felt like it was a bigger ball. However, I do think that both of these still gave a good shape. I just think the combat you'd probably use when there's like a little less volume, where the full effect slightly more volume. It's not necessarily that one's weaker than the other. It's just you're using them in, around the same time, just depending on the pattern in my opinion. So now we're gonna go ahead and throw the one Ovation and see how it compares. Just threw the one Ovation. This ball for me, I could easily tell that this was a ball down from the full effect. I felt like it just wanted to really be clean through the fronts, and I felt like I had to be a little bit more forward with my hand in order to make it shape the right way. If I got a little bit around it, it definitely never really wanted to hook, and when it did hook, it hooked all at once. So it was really hard to control if I did that. Overall, I feel like this ball is a nice step down. Maybe touch a surface to kind of make it a little closer to the full effect for me is what I would do. But overall, this is one of my favorite kind of weaker asim balls, and I feel like these two are pretty close when it comes to like a 3-4 kind of in the bag. Final thoughts on the full effect. For me, this ball really shocked me. I've loved all the effects in the past that I've thrown, but this one really shined through. And for me, I'm gonna have to give this one a fire. I do think that it could veer to a nuts later down the road. I just felt like it didn't quite strike enough with it, but I felt like this ball is just one of those ones where I can throw, really close my eyes and really throw it wherever. I just felt like it shaped early enough to where it was predictable, but still shaped enough down lane to where I knew I wasn't gonna leave that stinking 10 pin. So for me, it's gonna be a fire today.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video useful, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.